He enters the relationship anchored in a profound belief: love is built on tolerance, flexibility, and the unwavering gift of the benefit of the doubt. His starting point is not anger, but earnest effort. He sees his role as a listener first, absorbing her words and moods. He explains himself patiently, believing clarity can bridge any gap. Forgiveness flows readily from him. Second chances are offered not out of naivety, but from a conviction that love requires understanding and space for human frailty. He views enduring minor slights or emotional turbulence not as weakness, but as the noble price of deep connection, a sacred duty to provide stability. His calm isn't absence of feeling, it's a deliberate choice, a bedrock principle. He fundamentally trusts that this consistent patience, this refusal to retaliate or escalate, is the highest form of respect and the surest path to earning reciprocal love and loyalty. He equates his restraint with strength, believing it will foster security and, ultimately, the peaceful partnership he envisions. His generosity of spirit is his offering, his unwavering presence his promise. He begins wholly invested in the ideal that love thrives where judgment ends and patient acceptance begins, certain that this foundation is unshakable. The initial harmony begins to fray, subtly at first. His patience, once perceived as strength, starts to be misread. His consistent kindness is mistaken for pliability, his thoughtful silence, misinterpreted as tacit permission or even weakness. Disrespect seeps in like a slow, insidious leak under the door. It manifests in sharp, offhand sarcasm aimed his way, the sting disguised as humor. Passive-aggressive comments replace direct communication, leaving him confused and walking on eggshells. A sense of entitlement emerges, her needs, moods, and desires consistently prioritized, his own accommodations taken for granted. Affection, once freely given, becomes a weapon, deliberately withheld to punish or control. The testing escalates, pushing boundaries just to see how far he will bend, challenging his composure not to understand it, but to erode it. He endures each incident, rationalizing them individually: she's stressed, tired, misunderstood. He swallows his hurt, bites back his truth, believing that absorbing these moments is the price of maintaining peace and proving his love. He tries harder to explain, to understand, to appease. Yet, with each concession, each time he chooses silence over confrontation to avoid chaos, the disrespect gains ground. He fails to see the cumulative pattern, the shifting baseline where tolerance becomes the expected norm, and his quiet endurance only invites further encroachment on his dignity. The line he never thought existed is being crossed, one barely perceptible step at a time. His calm consistency, once a refuge, becomes monotonous to a psyche wired for emotional volatility. Her unconscious craving for stimulation interprets his stable presence not as security, but as a void needing to be filled. Without malice, but driven by a need to feel intensity, she begins to provoke. A pointed remark disguised as curiosity, a sudden withdrawal after intimacy, a manufactured crisis, each poke is an attempt to jolt a reaction, to ignite the spark of drama her system craves. He misreads this as a call for more understanding, doubling down on his patient approach. He plans dates meticulously, shoulders burdens silently, offers unwavering support during her storms, remembers every detail, pouring his emotional currency into an account she no longer values. The return diminishes rapidly, genuine gratitude fades, replaced by a sense of expectation. His sacrifices become the invisible background noise of the relationship, his patience the baseline entitlement. Criticism replaces appreciation, his efforts are minimized or ignored outright. The harder he works to maintain peace through accommodation, the more his emotional generosity is devalued. He's pouring water into a sieve, believing sheer volume will eventually satisfy, failing to grasp that her thirst isn't for his calm offerings, but for the chaotic energy his restraint denies her. His noble endurance, his very currency of love, becomes worthless in an economy fueled by emotional static and manufactured tension. The weight of unspoken truths and swallowed grievances accumulates like sediment, hardening into a core of quiet anguish. He replays conflicts endlessly, dissecting his words and actions, convinced he must be the flaw in the equation. Was he too sensitive to her sarcasm? Too weak for not demanding respect. Too soft in accepting the cold withdrawal. The self-doubt is corrosive. He internalizes the chaos, believing salvation lies solely in his transformation. If only he loved more deeply, tolerated more broadly, explained more clearly, sacrificed more completely, then surely peace would return. This internal narrative masks the true fracture. He misdiagnoses the disease as his own insufficiency, not her fundamental disrespect for tranquility itself. He fails to see that her addiction isn't to him, but to the emotional turbulence his calm denies her. His stability feels like monotony to a psyche craving storms. Each time he absorbs her outburst, each time he rationalizes her entitlement or weaponized silence as a temporary phase, another fragment of his intrinsic self-worth chips away. The noble ideal of endurance curdles into a bitter resentment he dare not voice, even to himself. He bleeds internally from 1,000 paper cuts, dismissive glances, manipulative jabs, the constant testing of his breaking point, all while clinging to the crumbling belief that more patience, not a fundamental incompatibility, is the answer. The erosion is silent, deep, and dangerously invisible, even to him, as he slowly mistakes his diminishing light for his own failing. The exploited patience crystallizes into something cold and resolute, not volatile rage, but a final, unyielding line of self-defense. This anger isn't instability, it's the visceral internal roar of, no more. He realizes the tragic irony, his punished kindness has eroded the very masculine core, the strength, resolve, and quiet dignity, that initially drew her. The noble endurance he believed would earn love has instead cost him his sense of self. A profound shift occurs, invisible to her but seismic within him. He stops leaning into the storm. The desperate attempts to explain, to appease, to win her understanding or affection cease. The warmth that once animated him fades, replaced by a necessary, protective stillness. He isn't seeking her heart anymore, he's guarding his own. He stops offering explanations that fall on deaf ears, stops hoping for a change she seems incapable of, stops trying to prove his worth through infinite tolerance. The laughter quiets, the eager touch withdraws, the emotional investment retracts. This isn't manipulation or spite, it's the instinctive retreat of a soul recognizing self-destruction. The man who gave endless chances finally understands the cost, staying meant the annihilation of his dignity. The breaking point isn't an explosion, it's the silent, irrevocable decision to stop betraying himself to accommodate her dysfunction, the moment endurance transforms into self-preservation. Her perception captures only the surface rupture, the sudden coldness, the raised voice, the final door closing. Blind to the years of silent erosion, she frames his transformation as inexplicable betrayal. He changed, she laments to friends, mourning the vanished sweetness, convinced his anger erupted spontaneously. She recounts his outburst, dissecting its intensity, while the relentless onslaught of sarcasm, manipulation, and emotional neglect that preceded it fades from her narrative. Her role evaporates, she becomes the victim of his inexplicable shift. This rewriting absolves her. She never witnessed the quiet wars waged nightly, the ceiling stared at in the dark, the swallowed sighs as she emotionally checked out, the ache of compliments freely given to others while his sacrifices became invisible wallpaper. She didn't hear the whispered pleas for change, the desperate internal bargaining, the prayers choked down with disappointment. Her focus narrows solely to his final reaction, severed from the agonizing context. His endurance, his 1,000 swallowed truths to preserve peace, become the unseen prelude she edits out. His breaking point, the culmination of her unacknowledged campaign, is reframed as his solitary failing. She sees the symptom, his eruption or withdrawal, but remains willfully blind to the disease she nurtured, the chronic disrespect that made his patience a cage and his final stance an act of self-rescue she mislabels as abandonment. His history of suffering is erased, only her moment of consequence remains. He becomes a specter in the home they share, physically present, emotionally vanished. The man who planned dates now offers blank calendars, the one who spoke from the heart delivers only clipped, functional replies, passionate touch fades to accidental brushes or empty space. She notices the void, but misdiagnoses the cause, lamenting his inexplicable coldness, his sudden change, while remaining blind to the years of erosion that necessitated his retreat. Her blame echoes in the growing silence. Within this hollowed-out existence, the crushing truth crystallizes: nothing I do will ever be enough. The realization isn't angry, it's a weary, bone-deep acceptance. He finally sees the core fracture wasn't his lack of effort, love, or tolerance, but her fundamental inability to value peace or respect his presence as anything other than an emotional utility. His monumental patience wasn't a bridge, it was fuel for her chaos. The noble endurance curdles into a final, devastating insight: love devoid of mutual respect is poison. Staying meant slowly dissolving in its toxicity. His withdrawal isn't a tactic, it's the only possible response to a partner who mistook his sanctuary for a battleground. The ghost he embodies is the residue of the man she consumed, a silent testament to the understanding that self-preservation requires leaving the table where his soul was the only thing on the menu. The willingness to try, to bleed for her, dies first. Walking away isn't driven by hatred, but by a profound, hard-won clarity. He finally understands: his calm isn't weakness to be exploited, but a potent strength to be fiercely protected. He refuses any longer to be her emotional experiment, a prop in her self-created drama, or a silent witness to his own erosion. His departure isn't an explosion, it's a conscious choice for the peace he once offered her, now claimed solely for himself. This choice frees him, restoring the soul she drained drop by drop. He becomes what she secretly feared most: a man who sees her manipulations clearly, stands firm without her validation, and refuses to look back. He embodies the consequence she never believed would come. To the patient man, the lesson crystallizes: your endurance is a precious gift, not a guarantee of reciprocation. When a woman consistently mistakes your sanctuary for a battleground, you owe her no more of your light. You are not obligated to bleed in silence for someone who confuses control with love. True partnership cherishes stability, it doesn't weaponize it. His power now lies in his unwavering self-respect. He saves the version of himself capable of boundless patience for someone who recognizes its sacred value, who builds alongside him, not atop his broken pieces. He chooses sanctuary over slavery, understanding that the deepest love isn't measured by the pain endured, but by the peace fiercely guarded and mutually honored. His silence, his absence, is his ultimate, unassailable truth.